When you are in a job interview, do you ever feel like a question you are being asked feels strange to answer, but you can't quite put your finger on why you feel that way? You might think to yourself, this question is asked all the time. Maybe I just didn't prepare well enough to answer the right way. If you are anything like me, you probably had a feeling that certain common questions you are asked just don't feel right to you. But then you think to yourself that your feeling is the issue rather than the actual question you are being asked. I'm here today to show you that there actually is something to that weird feeling you are having in your gut about these common questions you get asked. It is not always easy to put your finger on exactly why these questions are so strange and cringeworthy. When you actually think about them more deeply, as I will do with you today, it will become clear why these questions actually are so strange and awkward to give answers to. Okay, so I have been in many interview cycles over the course of my career, and there is one common question I am almost always asked that is so invasive, so awkward, and so uncomfortable to hear every single time. It's the dreaded question of what other companies are you interviewing with? And where are you in the process with these companies? Before I get to why this question makes me borderline sick every time I hear it, I want to talk about what the people asking this question actually want to know. There are really only two aspects of this question that the interviewer truly cares about. One is they just want to know if you have offers from other companies, and that if you do have other offers, they need to bust their butts to tell everybody involved in the hiring process to hustle tushy before you might accept that other offer. The other unsaid question the interviewer wants to answer related to your other offers is how desirable and wanted as a candidate are you? Can we string this person along for months without them being able to do anything about it? Or do we need to act quickly if we don't want this person to self-eliminate? The other thing interviewers want to know from questioning you about the other companies you're interviewing with is what kind of compensation will this candidate be getting if they will not work here? Is the candidate interviewing with big tech companies? Are they looking for nonprofits or low-paying internships? Basically, if the interviewer knows what other companies you are interviewing with, they can shape their conversations with you about compensation around what they know you could be getting elsewhere. And as the candidate, you don't want them to have that leverage. So that is great to know and all, but let's make this real. If you are the candidate and you are actually asked this interview question real time, what do you do? The shortest way I can put it is make yourself sound like a desirable candidate without giving away any specific details. Whenever I am asked this question, all I say is, if I have any impending offers that will affect your deadlines, I will be sure to communicate them with you. I am in conversations with some companies in a variety of stages. If after that they still try to press for specific company names, just say, out of respect for the companies and the confidentiality of their processes, I do not wish to reveal this information at this time. then if even after that they still try to press, I would interpret it as a red flag for a place you don't want to work and end the interview right there. That is enough about that question for now. If you want an even deeper dive into it, please leave a comment below. Let's move on to a different question that is actually illegal to ask in many places. So at least some people recognize that it's not a great question to ask. It's this: what is your current salary in your current role? I know the first thing you're probably thinking, if you're like me anyway, why does knowledge of the pay I get now matter at all for this new role I'm interviewing for? If you're asking that question, you're right to ask it, because the answer is your current pay is not relevant at all to the role you're interviewing for. To be super clear about this, for you as the candidate, there is no advantage to you whatsoever in revealing this information in an interview, or really to anyone you don't share finances with. This is actually one of the few questions that, when asked in an interview, I actually sidestep it entirely. Whenever I am asked about my current salary in my current role, I instead pivot to mentioning a range I am seeking for the current role I'm interviewing for based on the research I have done about similar roles in my area. Let's get right into it. The interviewer asks, "What is your current salary?" My answer is, "For this role, based on my research of similar roles, I feel that a range around X dollars on the low end to Y dollars on the high end is a reasonable ask, and I would be happy to revisit the details later in the interview process." I like this response for a few reasons, though that last sentence is especially important. I would be happy to revisit the details later because it makes sure that when you state your range, you are not locking yourself into those numbers. You make exceedingly clear that what you stated right now is subject to change based on this interview process and other interview processes you might be in. I will say that I am glad that much of the world is recognizing that interviewers should not be asking candidates about their current salary, and that the law is being brought in to help with the effort of getting rid of this question forever. If you have ever been laid off, or if you have ever needed to leave the workforce for other reasons, like being a parent or caring for another family member, this last one will really make you mad. "I see you have 6 months on your resume between your jobs at Acme Corp. and your job at Acres Corp. What was going on during that time?" This question might truly be the worst. What bigger invasion of privacy is there than asking somebody what they were doing when not working? But even beyond the craziness of the question itself, even from the perspective of a hiring team, if you think about it more deeply, you'll realize that the answer to this question does not really tell you anything that you need to know. If I was the best programmer in the world at the end of my job at Acme Corp, you can bet that even 6 months after that, I would still be at least in the top 10. Professional athletes never just become the worst players. The fastest runners never just become the slowest. That's not the way the world works. And in a similar way, if somebody is talented now, they won't suddenly be untalented 6 months later. Think about it for a second. If a question like this was asked by the candidate to the interviewer, hey, can you tell me what you have been doing in the time that this role has been open to secure the right candidates? Why have qualified candidates been turning down your offers? There would be outcry, just like there was on a viral LinkedIn post I made a few months ago calling out interview questions like this. When I gave satirical advice to say this back to interviewers if you are the candidate and are asked about your time outside of the workforce, I got so many angry comments back. Although I also, of course, got a lot of support and reposts as well. Honestly, to me, that shows me how real this problem is. Why is it acceptable for interviewers to ask these awkward questions to candidates, but it's not okay the other way around? There are more questions like this, but I think this is a good place to stop for now. If you have any weird interview experiences you want to share, please leave a comment below. And if you like this kind of content, please subscribe. See you next time.